Hello, my beauties. How are you doing today? Everyone's having a blessed day. Probably relaxing, chillaxing, getting ready for the new week, watching some football. Just relaxing, chilling with the family. Well, I had all my day picked up what I was going to do on my video for today, because you know I put the weekend videos, challenges, put them out, do them, what have you. But I woke up this morning, checked my my YouTube, just getting ready, get my mindset ready, There was this collaboration. Yeah, I know what month it is. It's October, yes, okay. It's October. We have Cancer Month. And the one that I've been dodging is domestic violence. This month is Domestic Violence Month, Awareness Month. And Pam Jordan, Lulu, some other ladies, beautiful ladies on YouTube and Instagram, they did a collaboration. I was watching Pam Jordan. If you don't know who Pam Jordan is, you want the fragrances, the scent of the day, beautiful bomb look. Lulu too, my girl Lulu. Watch their channels. And I was triggered a little. And the reason why I was triggered is because I've been crying all morning. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, bulliness, mean girl cliquish bulliness, and a rape survivor. I'm a survivor. At first I wasn't gonna share this, but people who know me, who's close to me, even on YouTube, some creators, got personal with them, and shared it with them. Damalia Delight, who God rest her soul, she passed last month. And some of the other YouTubers, I've shared some of it, but not detailed into it. And I was just thinking, I was praying, and I was like, Lord, I know I'm a living, walking, talking, breathing, kick-ass, bad bitch, testimony. Maybe me telling my story, someone can relate, or they been there, or they've seen it as a child, as an adult now, or they're in it and they don't know what could become of after they walk away, or that abuse goes away. Abuse is anything: verbal, physical, sexual, mental, emotional. Whatever you say to someone, you might, oh, I was just saying that out of, he, ki, la, la, or whatever. Or that's your demeanor. It's to cut people down, but your words hurt. Your words have weight. You don't need to know that person's background, but it can hurt. And it will stay with you. So I want to share my story. This could be a lengthy video, but I'm gonna share it while doing my makeup. I've already done my eyebrows, what have you, so I figure if I do my makeup and talk, it can probably balance off a little. I can get through it, and I feel like I'm missing some stuff. I thought I'd put it out here, but we gonna get through it, just like I got through mine. So as I stated before, I'm just going to color correct as I normally do. As I stated, I am a survivor of all the abuse, and it started when I was a child. I was physically abused and molested from the age of 6 to 23 after having my second child. And so I was already primed. So I was raised by, if you don't know, I'm Cuban, Puerto Rican. And I was raised by a black family. They were in the Air Force. From the South. From the South. And they traveled, went to their state duty stations, whatever. I went what I thought was, you know, babysitter, caretaker while they were gone. Collected benefits and everything off of me, but I wasn't theirs. They gave me their last name. Their name is on my social security, not on my birth certificate. So I know that stuff back in the day. To this day, I still don't know how I came to America from Cuba. But the caretaker kind of find out was my mother. I didn't know that until early on in my age adulthood. Abuse started. They had 2 other kids that were theirs, but if they did something, I got it. They almost took my life. Well, the father did twice, and then the mother twice as well. So dealt with that. There was all black family. This tan, you can't really see. So me being out here in this Texas heat, I'm a very fair, light brown. I'm just shaking up, I'm using Fenty. Light brown woman. I mean fair. You see my hair? 2 shades lighter, go 3 shades. That's just the skin of my legs, my arms, my breasts, my body, my feet. And I always wondered, I was like, why didn't they get the other kids? You know, why am I the one being punished or whatever? This was as a kid. We talking 6 to 14, 15. Right here in good old San Antonio. I'm gonna get to that part too. And so basically, I was being beat, abused, verbally, physically, and molested by their family. Scared to say anything, scared to tell my teachers or anything. I took it. There are other kids, a little spanking. I got my neck almost broken, beaten severely. Being military, goes to a military base, I had to lie to a military officer doctor, because if I didn't, and there was any problems, it was gonna strike him on his record being Air Force, I was gonna get it. So I lied to protect myself. So that went on. High school, summer job, first job working at McDonald's at Ingram Mall here in San Antonio. And it's hot. I know Texas get hot. It's 100-some degrees in the summer, and I'm walking around with a long sleeve shirt and a McDonald's shirt over it, burning up to hide the bruises. Until my manager pulled me aside and she touched me because I had just got beat. And in fear that if they called the police, he was gonna get it from his job being in the military, and then they were gonna start taking out on their children. So she protected me from that. Going off to college, by the time I went to high school, I was bullied in high school. I was basically being bullied the majority of my life. I'm 51. I was bullied. Didn't fit in because I was called an Oreo. I was so fair, black hair, curly hair, and I didn't fit it, you know, black kids, I didn't fit in. The Latinos, the Mexicans, the whites, I got along great, but the blacks, I didn't. So I was bullied. High school and college. Went through that. Went through high school. Graduated. Went to college. So because of the abuse, I wanted to get away. I felt that was my getaway. I'm applied to out-of-state colleges, and that was going to be my escape, which I did, and I got accepted, and I got a scholarship. So by this time, she divorced Mr. Hope, but then she took on the beatings, and it got worse. It got extremely worse for me. I'm 17, 18 at this time. And I thought we were in, he's gone, but she picked it up and it was worse. So senior year, because of the abuse and everything, I was always a quiet person. I didn't really talk. I was scared to talk because of my accent. If I even spoke and they questioned, anybody questioned, you know, where is she from? This and that, because they heard my accent. I got beat if I wanted some tacos. Because it was of my ethnicity, my race. So I got beat for that. I should have let this stand. I mean, like, I'm gonna stop right there. And it was like I was quiet. I didn't say anything. I was scared to say anything. I was scared to talk. I was scared to do anything. I was gonna get beat. Severely beat. So I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything about the abuse. I didn't say anything about the... I'm looking in my mirror right here. I didn't say anything about the abuse, the molestation of their friends. You know how black families, you get together, you gotta play your dominoes, you gotta play your spades, and you have the little whole neighborhood, and they knew what was going on, but you still wanted me to sit by this old geezer who was molesting right there in front of you. So I went through that as a child. Going off to college, I wanted to make sure I was away from around it all. So I applied to every college that would accept me, that was miles away from Texas, from them, that I knew they couldn't get to me at all. And I got in several of them, Miami, California. So I got into Point Loma Nazarene College before returning to university with a scholarship. I was like, yes, that's it. I'm out of here. I didn't care what the cost or anything my scholarship was going to pay for this. I'm gonna work it to my advantage. This was my escape. So I'm swiping. I should be packing. Not swiping. So at the time, I didn't know about no HBCUs, colleges, historic black colleges. I didn't care. I wanted out. So, being that Jan Hope, choir member, church-going woman, and family and all, her choir director she told him that I applied and got to a college in California. And he was a big HBCU, black kids, and you know, he didn't know the dynamics of it, and I wasn't even their kid. He didn't know, and still to this day, he don't know. He's still alive here, but he didn't know. So she let him convince me to go to this black college in Austin, Texas. Now, yes, they're a black family, they're military, but all me and the two kids who've been around was nothing but white folks and Filipinos on the bases. The only time we were around black folks is when they had their little domino spades game. So I go, she goes to him. I'm waiting on the papers to come in from Cali so that I can get this and get ready to graduate and get out, because it was getting worse. The abuse, the beating, the name calling, I'm not shit, I'm a bitch. All this stuff was going on and it was getting worse. I don't know what this man did, who he knew, you know, is about who you know or what have you. I don't know what this man did and convinced her to do. But all I know, I came home, I was waiting for a package, and I came home. I'm just evening out this concealer, and there was a package, a letter for me to sign and fill out for admission to this historic black college in Austin, Texas. It was a college then, it's a university now. And if I didn't, she was gonna kill me. So I had nobody to help me. So I signed the papers and I went. Graduated, 17 years old, in high school. And I went to this college. I'm just setting my concealer. And with Sasha Butter Cup. I'm gonna try to get through this, so excuse me if I blabber on and I'm not showing what I'm doing. And so I went to this college, freshman orientation. I didn't know nobody. Nobody didn't know me. I was like, okay. It was on the east side of town. Classes hadn't even started. So they have freshman orientation. I went to UTSA just to get some credits or get some, you know, used to being in the college environment. And to be honest, I should have stayed. But I went there. Then I went, fall came around, went in for this college. So I went, freshman orientation. They have all these activities for freshmen, incoming freshmen. Okay, bowling, riverboat ride, all this stuff. My roommate lived around there, so her brother came and got her, and she spent the weekend with him. She didn't come on any of the extravagant or events that they had set for us. She was a freshman as well. So I go. It was a nice event, you know, what have you. And everything was fine. Okay, it's all right. I'm away from them at least. Like they dropped me off and left me there. Basically is what they did. And so I'm gonna go in. So I got Fenty on. So I'm gonna get I got all this stuff over here. Fenty powder to set that foundation. This is in 345. So I do it out of that. And we were coming back from the bowling. My roommate was still out with her brother, but I knew, you know, she was not going to be there because she's at her brother's. And so I get ready to go to bed, what have you. And there was a phone call on the dorms. I'm going with Bobbi Brown for my contour. And it was one of the guys that was he was a sophomore but they had sophomore and freshmen. Some of the sophomore, some of the upper class was coming back early. Someone wanted to partake in, you know, in the festivals, activities that they had set. You know what, these earrings are getting on my nerves. Hold on, I'm gonna take these earrings off. So they had, they were there. You know, you sit there, you chopping it up, you're talking, what have you. And we just sitting there having fun. Well, it was like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I'm back in my dorm, and so the phone rings. I answered, nobody didn't say anything. Next thing I know, there was a knock at the door, and it was this guy. I'm not knowing if it's my roommate or what have you coming in. It was this guy. Bulldozed it in, knocks me over, knocks me on my bed. I've been watching you, you know, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that, and I'm trying to fight him off. Covers my hand. I'm screaming, I'm trying to, no, no, no. 18, and he rapes me. I never had a boyfriend. I had never been kissed, wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend, been touched, besides the molestation by a man. I was pure. I was a virgin. And this man raped me. And it fucked me up. I'm not even gonna lie. It fucked me up. Couldn't tell. I didn't know who to talk to, what to say, what have you. This boy was going around talking about she's easy, you know, woo, woo, woo. And he's still to this day is my friend. My savior. He was the friend that stepped in, a man that stepped in for me. And he was like, he told me what the guy was saying, and he knew me. We had class by the time school had started, and we were partners working on assignments or whatever. He knew. He came and told me about it, and I told him what had happened. And he was the big dog Q on the yard, Omega Psi Phi. For those of you who don't know Greek. And he went out looking for this guy. He was born and raised and bred, as they say, cornbread fed, from Houston. And after that, we never saw the guy again. We saw him once, and my savior, my friend, went looking for him to get him for what he did. And next thing we know, the guy had left. By this time, I'm getting bullied by girls because of what the guy had said. The guys were looking at me, big breasts, long hair, black hair. The hopes put perm in my hair to straighten it, to make it kinky, whatever, because I have curly, wavy hair. I'm Latina. I didn't know I was a Latina until I got older. So went through that, met my daughter's father. He didn't know until after the fact when I told him. By that time, I had my daughter. I was at UT of Austin. They didn't even know, they didn't find out till later, the Hopes didn't find out till later that I had transferred and enrolled at UT of Austin. That's where I got my credentials and everything. And then I met my husband, my ex, and all hell broke loose. So after that, dealt with that, college, the rape, the bullyingness, the name calling. By this time I'm 21. 22, I had to go back home because I was pregnant, trying to go back to school, finish up school. So, you know, I'm like, I have this child. I've got to protect this child. I'm going in with Eliose, so I didn't contour my nose. But, after that, it just messed me up. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know. But I had this child that I needed to, and it was a girl, my firstborn, my only daughter. I had to protect my child. Make sure nothing or anybody, and also break this curse, this generation curse of abuse. I vowed that I was not going to be that type of a parent or mother. But when I transferred and then I got pregnant, they didn't know. When they did know, I was pregnant. And because I had switched schools, got pregnant, I was already told, I'm gonna beat you, but I was pregnant. And I was told, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna beat you and kill you after you have this kid. I was pregnant. So I'm already terrified because they already lived up to their threats and demands before. And I felt like I was at the mercy of them. Had my daughter, by this time, I'm like, I need to hurry and do something and get the hell out of here. I was in ROTC. I didn't have a voice. I was scared to talk. But I was in ROTC. I was in ROTC in high school. I was in junior ROTC in high school. And I was in ROTC in college, UT, Austin. And I went back and I was traveling back and forth. I had to find child. My daughter was staying with Miss Hope and I was in school. So, and I didn't want it that way because I didn't know what she was doing and how she was taking care of my child. And I was always in trouble because I wouldn't speak up. Sir, yes, sir. No, no, yes, ma'am, no, sir. I was always, yes, sir, okay. And they wanted me to speak up. So my sergeant pulled me aside and he was like, what is going on with you? How come you're one of our best cadets and da-da-da-da-da? I told him what had happened. And I felt like I couldn't talk. I couldn't speak. So back in them days, you know, you was swept under the rug or whatever. But he saw something in me and he was like, no, you're gonna make this, you're gonna beat this. We're gonna make sure you don't go back. We gotta get you through this and get your daughter and you're gonna go and live your life. I'm starting with the Queen Eliose purple theme for domestic violence. So I have on my Queen shirt. I was gonna wear this for another one, but it has all my I am affirmations, so I figured it would be suitable for it. So I'm gonna go in with Elizabeth here as my transition. I know I'm all over the place, y'all, but I gotta get this out. So he made me Sergeant Ricketts. Well, shoot, before I do anything, let me prime my eyes. So he's like, you're going to, you know, he helps me. He helps me out a lot. So he's like, we're gonna get you out, but I gotta get you to get your voice. You need to start talking. So what does he do? He makes me, I was already on drill team. I was already on rifle drill. So he puts me and throws me in color guard at UT. So I was color guard for UT, Austin. Color guard for the games and ceremonies and stuff. And he made me the Army flag. I was the Army flag for color guard. And so I had to call commands. So it means I had to project my voice. So he was like, if you could project your voice and do that, you can project your voice and speak up for myself. I just want to set this primer. And every time I had the nerves and got strong to project my voice and speak up, somebody would overpower me. So I went through that as an adult in my 20s, early 20s. I met my ex when I was 23. And I thought I was already went through hell growing up. It was nothing on this man. He knew my end story, my backstory, my story all together. Now I'm going back into here. And with Elizabeth. And he knew it. He knew it. Knew it all I went through. But everything I had been through as a child. As a young adult in high school, being bullied, picked on, sexually abused, physically abused. He knew it. He decides he's gonna do it too. He was military. He was in the Marine Corps. And he used what I told him against me. Your mother, your whatever family, they beat you, you ain't shit, you ain't gonna be nothing, you gonna do what I say. When you go through abuse, you tend to see, you know, it takes a part of you to where you actually start believing it and you feeling it. And then if somebody else abuses you in a different way, it just gets you to the point that where you feel like you're just stuck. And I thought he was going to be my savior to save me from it. But he just added more. I was with him for 14 years. This man, he didn't really get physical with me until the end because it was like almost over. But there was a lot of emotional abuse. Of course, you know, he was cheating. And everything I told him that I went through, he threw it back in my face. Every time. You ain't shit, you ain't trash, this and that and the other. I tried to go to his command. You know how, if y'all ain't familiar, the military bond, whatever branch, they got each other's back. They ain't, every time they saw me coming up to that base or on that sidewalk, coming up to that building, they would send him out there to tell him to get your wife away from around here. Now, when I met my ex, he had just made staff sergeant. So, he did 21 years. Because of everything he was doing, the infidelities, the restraining order I had on him as his wife, he did 21 years and he still was a staff sergeant. They passed him over for ranking the whole time. And of course, who got the end of the bullet of that? So it got to the point that every time, this was in Texas, by this time I'm pregnant, before all that happened, or right when that happened, I'm pregnant with my third child, which is our child. And I'm working as a medical assistant and a phlebotomist. I went to a trade school. That's how I was taking care of me. I had my oldest son and I had my daughter. And that's how I was taking care and providing for me and my family, was through the medical assistant. My OBGYN was the one that hired me. After I had my daughter, and I got into another abusive relationship, and I had my son, and got out of that, Jan Hope was still beating me, tried to kill me, holding my 10-month-old son, choking me over the kitchen sink. And at that time, I had just met my ex. And the only thing that saved me, military wouldn't help me, but that military base was the only thing that could save me from her. And I never hit an adult, an elderly, a parent or whatever, but I had to swing and hit this woman to get her off of me, drop to my son, grab my son and my daughter, no socks, no shoes, to run into my little car that my worker, my employee had bought for me to have transportation to work and get from that house to the base, Lackland Air Force Base. Because at the time, he had duty, and I knew he can pick us in the dorms. Now I'm gonna go into Impress, which is this pink, and I'm gonna go down a little bit lower. Same brush. Just gonna go a little bit lower, like right there. A little lightly above the crease. So, did that. And it was hell after that. Married and all, and he just took on the verbal abuse from where she had left off. I caught hell from the church, I got hell from her because she, choir, she was good with them, and she was giving her points of view or what had happened, but I had the abuse, I had the reports, I had all the information that basically backed up what I was saying, or had been saying for years. So by this time, my husband's he's being abusive and what have you. So I'm like, I gotta get the hell away from here. I had a childhood friend who was like a sister who had seen it all, see me go through it. And she had left and moved back home, Sacramento. And she had her son, my son and her son's like 2 weeks apart. 2.5 weeks apart. And she was coming down in July of '96 to let her, her son visit his grandparents and his father. Now I'm about to go into Amina, right in the crease. So I was going through hell. I had just, in this situation, in this relationship, it's not working out. This man, the military, the Marine Corps is not helping. I needed to get out. And I didn't know what to do. I was 7 months pregnant with my son, Josh. So she was like, you need to get out of here before it gets worse. And I did. In '96 of July, I left and went to Sacramento. 2 small kids under the age of 5 and pregnant. 6.5, almost more basically 7 months pregnant. And I stayed with I took every money I had and I went. She flew back, we took Greyhound because I didn't know what was going to be waiting for me in Cali, the cost of living and all that, what have you. So that's what I did. I took the Greyhound. I had to go on assistance, and when we stayed with her, they had the homeless program, so I did that where they pay your first month and last month to put you in a hotel. I ended up getting my food stamps, my cash aid, Medicaid because I was pregnant. I did all that in Cali. So right before I left, my ex tells me he got orders to Camp Pendleton. I knew it was in Cali, but I didn't know where. As long as it wasn't up north, I didn't care. And I was up north, he was down south of California. And so I'm going Elizabeth and just like blend this out a little. So I did that. And I was up there. Everything was good in Sacramento. Love Sacramento. My husband was like, I want my family back. You know, he would come up there. He saw the baby after. He was coming up there once a week, twice a week. And everything was good. The kids was like missing him. He didn't help raise him, but he was the father in the house. So he was like, come down here, we can reconcile and get this straight. I was like, okay. I hadn't suffered any verbal abuse, no, intimidation, anything from him, because I was up in Sac. He was down in Oceanside, which is San Diego area. So I was like, okay, sounds good. We can do that, whatever. I should have kept my butt in Sac. I should have kept my butt in Sacramento, California. Came there. There was women in and out, coming up and talking about, oh, that's their man, that's their husband, their boyfriend or whatever. They didn't know he had a wife and kids. And here comes the verbal abuse, the antagonizing, the intimidating, scaring me, the kids, everything. So I'm trying to get back to Sac. I'm trying to get my sister to get me. He changed the number, the whole 9 yard. I'm trying to find a way. So I found a good friend, Octavia. She was a property management, and she was able to get me a house, an apartment in her apartment complex. Went to school to finish up my associate's degree. I had credentials, my pharmacy tech, my phlebotomy, my lab tech, my cardiology tech, my MA. I had it all. I could find me a job just to save some money and go back. So that was the plan. But he saw that, oh, she's getting back on her feet. She's getting a little bit stronger. Let me knock her back down. So because we were family, husband and wife, what have you, kids, I didn't come and stay back with us. I'm gonna I'm just gonna blend some of this out. And let him come back. Every place that we lived, we didn't live on base. Every place that we lived, it was my apartment, my name on the lease. But the property management knew, okay, he's military. And nothing of it. I think I'm gonna go back in. And I'm gonna make an image now because I wanna make this a little bit darker defined. So, at this time, this is 1990. Josh was born in 96, September. This is like 98. 1998. And I'm in Cali. You know, Jan Hope and her crew, and they, it was like bare to none conversation. I would call, still showing respect, Mother's Day, Christmas, or what have you. Oh, fuck you, bitch. You ain't shit. You ain't gonna never become nothing. Just because you married that Marine, you ain't gonna be shit. You having all these babies, popping out those babies, you ain't gonna be nothing but a low down, dirty bitch. And that's what all I heard through my whole life. Verbal abuse and physical. I was like, okay, you can say whatever, but you can't touch me. But my husband did. I had stopped wearing makeup after I had my son Joshua. I had my son Joshua in 96. I would put on lipstick, lip gloss, maybe a shadow or something, because I didn't want to draw so much attention. I had went through 2 postpartum depressions to where I was like, the biggest I've got is like I'm pregnant and after I have a child. But I got to the point I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want nobody looking at me. So I didn't let my hair go. My hair was falling out. My weight was up. I didn't put no makeup on. And he was like, you're nothing but a big old fat bitch. And that's what I had to deal with. But then I started having health problems, high, blood pressure. And then my husband's talking about, oh, you're crazy. You're crazy. I was in depression. I didn't even know I was depressed. I started working at Sharp Healthcare, and the doctors I went to, they were like, something's not right. We need to check you, blah, blah, blah. So they were like, you're suffering from depression. You're dealing with some severe depression from childhood, now as an adult, what have you. I was working there. I got a job at Camp Pendleton Naval Hospital. My husband, my ex, worked at Camp Pendleton, Camp Horno, which is 45 minutes from Camp Pendleton Hospital. Same base, but it was out there in the hills, in the mountains, in the desert. And I got that job. All hell again broke loose because he did not want me working there. Because I was working with Cormans, I was with Naval Hospital, I was working at OBGYN clinic. He didn't want me there. I started, working out, putting a little bit, take a little bit more care of myself, because I've always taken care of the kids, him, paying bills, because I believe what he, at that time, what he was telling me, how his family was towards him. And with me coming from a broken home and this and that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna be there for you, since you were there for me before you took over the reign and started doing the abuse to me again that I went through, and then you throwing it in my face. So he was telling everybody, oh, she's seeing a shrink, she's crazy. They don't talk about she's depressed. They gave me some Zoloft to help with my depression. She clinical. They got a doctor. So I was crazy. Basically, I was crazy. I was that crazy bitch. So then after that, I was like, all right. He would pop up at the hospital. Everybody knew what, like that. I had a man or a husband, what have you. But he was like, if any man, like a co-worker, a corpsman, or whoever I worked with, was a dude, was a man, oh, it was an argument. It was a fight. So I ended up losing that job because we were working on a government thing and we were arguing, and they overheard the conversation and the stuff that I was saying and that he was saying. With him being military, I got fired. That's not the first job that I lost because of my ex. That is the second job. No, third job, I'm sorry, third. So after that, I went into depression severely because of that. And he still carried on. He was to the point he had them bitches coming to the house, calling the house, and because I was going off, popping off, by the time I was getting my voice and I was speaking out, see, she crazy. And I was like, okay. But the kids loved him. Even though they knew they were small, but they loved him. And I didn't want them to go with that, be without their father. So I stayed. And I thought I was doing justice for them from not having both parents there, but I was dying. And it only got worse. So after that, I'm about to go on the lid, just the lids on my eyes. So after that, things kind of calmed down. Then my husband rapes me because I was working on the base, and he felt like, this was before I ended up losing my job at the base. He felt like I was cheating on him with some military people. I wasn't. There was nothing I could say to convince that man otherwise. That I wasn't. Because he saw someone look at me a certain way. And he's talking about he know how men looks when they look at a woman like that. And my husband raped me. And then I found out I was pregnant again. And my husband told me I wasn't having the kid. If I did, he was going to see to it that I would never have my other kids that I have. He was going to take them and send them to Jan Hope and let her raise my kids, knowing this is the woman who abused me and tried to kill me. And he said the only way that I could stop that from happening, I had to abort. I had to abort that pregnancy to keep him from taking my kids and sending them to this woman for as long as she had me in her possession, abused me, and I have to live with the fact that she's got my babies and she's doing them the same way. So I aborted. I was like, I'm going on the pill. I'm not going to take no chances. He was like, no. 9 months from that abortion, I got pregnant again. And he said the same thing. So I had 2 abortions back to back, 9 months apart. And by that time, I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta leave this man. But how can I? The military's not helping me. So I was like, who am I gonna tell? Who can I talk to? My sister, I couldn't get a hold of my sister. She had moved. She was going through her thing. I'm like, I couldn't go to the church because they were military. I was just like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get me and my kids far away from this man. If I gotta live on my own, be homeless or whatever, I'm gonna protect my kids. So things got good for a minute. He went Westpac, which is like 9 months tour type thing. And by that time, I was getting my shit together. I was like, when he come back, I'm out of here. And so the kids missed him. He said things was going to be different. He was going to change. He threw, we're going to buy a new house. And then we're going to move to a different area. Still in San Diego, 45 minutes from my job, whatnot. And I just went in with this throne color here. This little purpley color. I'm trying to bring that out. And so I put the down payment on the house. I didn't even know he was looking for a house. I gave him the money because I filed my taxes. We never filed together. I always filed separately because I was number 3 marriage for him. And I knew he had another son that he was still paying child support, and you ain't getting my money. I don't give a damn. You're not getting my money. I'm not paying for you to take, your responsibility for taking care of your child with her. That was also an argument. So after that, we moved into the house. Sure enough, not even 3 days after we moved into the house, a woman shows up talking about my house is her house, that I paid the down payment on it. We went through that, changed the number, The number was always getting changed. Locks was always getting changed. So 10 days before 9/11 comes, and we got into a big old argument because I'm working in the lab. I'm a lab tech. I'm working in the hospital lab. I'm making some pretty decent money. I'm working a pay period between 110 to 115 hours. A pay period. He let his sisters convince him that I was cheating. There's no way a woman could be working in a lab. I was a courier. I was working in pathology. I was a pathology tech. I was the one waking you up at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, drawing your blood and then running your test results. That was my job description. So he listened to his sisters and said, you need to follow her. You need to find out, go to her job and find out what's really going on. Is she going to work? I didn't find that out until after the fact, after the blow up, that's what had happened. I went to my job the day that this happened because he was complaining that I was working so much because I wasn't home with the kids, because he was there sleeping, but he wanted to stay out more and do what he wanted with these women from Hawthorne and Compton. So he knew I was working, but he let them get in his ear to convince him otherwise. So he went to my job. I went to my job before him. He followed me. I didn't know. I went through employee way. He went through the regular way. I went to go tell him to change my schedule and to not give me so many hours. And I get home, my job's calling me, talking about, oh, my husband's there. And he wanted to know who was I fucking? Who was I cheating? Who was sleeping with me at my job? So after that, he comes home and I'm like, what are you doing at my job? What the fuck? And I was like, I went to go this, what the fuck do you go in there? And I was like, I went to go to change my hours so that I could be home. You went up there for what? You think I'm cheating on you? And sure enough, he was like, yeah. And come to find out, I wasn't. I told him. He let his sisters get in his head. That turned out to be the biggest fight. That was the first time he put his hands on me. We were fighting. He tore up the house because he couldn't believe that he had listened to them and I had told him the truth, but he was so bent that I was cheating on him that I was going to leave him because I was paying all the bills. He paid half the mortgage, I paid the other half. I paid the utility bills, the water bill, the cable bill, child care, car note, all of that. And so I guess he was in fear if I leave, he gonna have to pay that for himself. So I ended up losing my job. I ended up filing a restraining order. 9/11 hit. I ended up filing my restraining order. He was breaking that. Military, you know, there was no proof of everything that he was breaking it because he was so slick at doing it. So, my brush, yeah, that's the right brush. And so, that went on. He finally simmered down to figure out that, you know, he was wrong and that he messed up his whole entire family. The kids were getting older. They like 13. Josh was barely in kindergarten, first grade, going into first grade. Doing all of that, he wanted me to stop the divorce proceeding and stay with him. And I chose not to. So, I had lost my job due to attendance because I was always constantly in court with him. I had to go back on assistance because he wasn't taking care of us. The military wasn't making him take care of us. So I was like, I'm on my own. But I'm gonna find a way to get through this for the sake of my kids. And so they started seeing things every time I fight or whatever. By this time, I didn't sign my name on the deed, but I gave the money for the down payment for the house. Because I didn't put my name on the deed, it wasn't technically my house. We were tenants. Your child was a tenant in your house. So he evicted us. So after that, I left, found a place so that the kids can still be in the same school district, still trying to find a job on assistance, trying to get off assistance, trying to better myself. My caseworker knew it. I found a place that I can afford, barely afford. It was like literally around the corner. It's a townhouse around from the house the KB house that we were living in. And so I was just going about my life. I put all that nonsense, his drama, his bitches, his heifers, his kids, the hopes, I put all that behind me. I was going on about my life. Me and my 3 kids at that time. So everything I'm thinking is good. I'm about to get a second job. Was nothing new to me. And I'm gonna move on. He comes to me because he wanted me to stop the divorce proceedings. To stop it. Reconcile for the umpteenth time. And I choose not to. He was having an allotment sent to me. Talking about he felt bad because I'm struggling. The kids are struggling. And this and that and the other. So he sets up an allotment. Coming from Kansas. And I was like, I told him, reported it to my, about to put on some blush. I need to do a bronzer again. And, oh Lord Jesus, what did I do with that bronzer? And so after that, you know, I'm all over the place, y'all. Sorry. I'm trying to find a word I just put that dang on bronzer at. So anyway, he was feeling apologetic and everything. Lord Jesus, what did I just do with Bobbi Brown? Anyway, so dealing with that, I'm trying to find the churches to try to get some type of spiritual guidance. That didn't work. Saw the back end of how that worked. Hypocrites and everything else. And then they found out, like, oh, you got a story or backstory. They took that and ran with that. So then you was an outcast. You had problems. You had issues. They didn't want to be a part of it. So, again, by myself, still trying to get to my sisters and everything. And couldn't find them. So it was just like, wow. I'm on my own again. But I'm like, oh, I still can't. They can't touch me. They can't hurt me. I ain't got to hear the abuse. I don't have to deal with the abuse. So I thought. So during that, trying to get myself together, get my job. I got 3 kids. 3 kids. And here comes the 4th. was assaulted, separated from my husband. Oh, first, before my husband, he knew, because the fact that I wouldn't stop the divorce proceedings, he knew I was working on the system trying to get off of that, and I wouldn't stop everything. There was a big old, now remind you, I wasn't out here trying to fraud nobody or anything or anybody or anyone. I'm trying to survive, but I was doing it the right way, reporting what needed to be reported to DCSS, Department of Service, Children's Services. I made sure of that. My worker knew I was trying to get a second job. My ex, well, we were still legally together, married, and he knew that was the one thing that can get me. So what he did was, there was a big old ring going on. Caseworkers and managements were frauding welfare in Riverside County in 2002. And they were opening up new cases, closed cases, and the caseworkers had their hand in it to where they were getting some of the money that they were giving out to workers, to recipients. And the DA, the new DA at that time, wanted to crack down on it. And he said anybody that had got flagged in, what have you, he was prosecuting. I already got pulled in because my ex had went to the county and said this and that, and she had already knew I had reported it, but they were waiting for the paperwork, whatever, showing the allotments coming from Kansas to show, and they were holding it because they knew the DA was getting ready to prosecute, and the DA prosecuted, and they got me talking about it was welfare fraud. And my worker, she testified and everything that, but the DA was like, no. They were setting examples for everybody. So I was like, damn, this man made true on his threat. He was gonna make me pay for leaving him and not staying with him. So I'm going through dealing with that. I'm trying to work. I lost one job. I couldn't work no more because I was back and forth. I had court. I had to do 2,500 customer service. I had credentials. I had my license. That was my bread and water, how I support myself and my kids. 3. In the midst of this, I was like, at that time, I wasn't wearing no makeup. I didn't care. I didn't want to be seen. So when doing that, going through that, finalizing that, dealing with the courts of that fraud, and finalizing for my divorce, I couldn't think, I couldn't breathe. My weight was up and down. I was like a zombie. Go to work, do this, do that, feed the kid, pick up the kid, do this, do that, by myself. So I had some co-workers, we used to go just kick back, have breakfast or whatever, and there was this guy. They all knew, and we were from the casino. They all knew he had a liking to me, but I was going through my thing. I'm like, I ain't trying to be involved with nobody. No. We go to Denny's, have breakfast. I gotta go home and get some sleep because I gotta work in the lab. Takes me home. It's like, oh, I'll give her a ride. I rode with a co-worker, my homegirl, and he's bringing me back. Broad daylight. I'm not gonna say what I need to say because my son doesn't know wholeheartedly how he came about, my 18-year-old. But you get the gist of what happened to me. I told my husband, because at that time he was all the person that knew me, that I needed some help. And he told me to abort that one. But I didn't. He was innocent. After everything my husband had did to me, that was the one person I went to because he knew me. He had known me for 14 years. I was broken. I was hurt. And I went to my abuser. who just put me through jail because I had nobody else. And he told me to abort, just like I did the 2 that me and him had. And I didn't. My son's still here. I love my son to death. So, homegirl was like, my other homegirl was like, that was foul, that was messed up. Her man, his brother, was like, you know, he held me through it. He was right there. He was right there through the court, the whole thing. After that shit was over, he decides he's gonna beat me too. So I was just like, damn, what is it about me? What did I do? What didn't I do? Oof. What didn't I do? How come these men want to beat me? Why are they beating me? Why are they attacking me? Why am I going through all this? I went through that, dealt with that. I was out of the dating scene. I didn't want to see a motherfucker. I didn't want to see a penis. I didn't want to do nothing. I had no makeup on. I let my weight go up and down, whatever. Relationship with a pastor. That shit went in. 6 years after that, I was in a relationship with a pastor. Shit went south. Come to find out, he was a motherfucking pimp. So I went through all that. Still raising my kids. So now I have 5 kids. Single. In California. So I stayed to myself. I didn't get in, nope. Work, home, church, even to the church. The motherfucking deacons, them pastors, wandering eyes, the choir member. No, I dating that pastor. I got to see the behind the scenes. I was like, no. Nope. You think I'm gonna have my kids coming up in here and I'm seeing that stuff is going on and y'all supposed to be pastors and church people? And I'm like, y'all about as crooked as some fool that's not in church. I've taken my chances with them. I'm coming to the church for healing, and y'all are crooked too. You think I'm gonna have my kids see this stuff? My younger ones, my older ones will already see it. You think I'm gonna let them see this? No. So we went to another church. The older kids, they were like, you know, they were high school. So they grew up with some of the kids of these parents. They were corrupted. Deacons, ministers, why deacons, why choir directors. I was like, So, finally got in a relationship. Thought it was a good relationship. He treated me like a queen. We were together for a year, but I started seeing that he was had a problem drinking. And that was a trigger. He would wake up. He lives in LA. I lived in Oceanside. So when he came, we got a hotel suite. The Hiltons, the Marriotts, whatever. Wine, dine me. Perfect. You would think it was perfect. I'm thinking I finally got it right. That fool would wake up. I don't know what it was. His past or something. He'd wake up and he'd be drunk. In the drunken rage. I got out of that. That was in 2019. I put in my transfer and I found out we had opened up a site here in San Antonio with United Health. Now, Texas, I was like, my thing was I go anywhere in Texas, but I ain't coming to San Antonio because San Antonio was an omen because all that crap started and originated here. So I was like, they were like, you going where? I was like, I'm going on the other side. Where that originated was the southwest side, north side, which is like an hour that way for me. I'm on the northeast side by Randolph Air Force Base. And where Randolph was right down the street. And back then, this was all field. This was all nothing but field. It was all field. So coming back, I was like, I was getting strong. I was stronger. But I was like, ooh, San Antonio. Transfer didn't go through. Well, because I have California license. I don't have Texas pharmacy license. So I applied for CVS 2019. We got here April 2019, and had to take a huge pay cut from Cali because cost of living, huge pay cut to here. And so I'm looking for my lips. What am I gonna do for my lips? And so did that. I want to finish up my eye. I'm not even done with my eye. I'm so sorry, y'all. And came back. They're like, oh, we're working on the transfer. Don't worry about it. Blah, blah, blah. Just go. Kind of find out there was nothing they could do because it's the state. It's not the license. It's the state. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll go work for CVS. You know, I'll go work for CVS. So I did that. Come to find out, I'm having headaches. I'm having these real bad headaches and stuff. And so this is in 2019. So I'm like, why am I having these real bad headaches? I'm just taking the colors that I use and putting them under my eye. And so I'm like, they're talking about cancer and parathyroid because the pains in my neck and my back. My neck and the back of my head and my head. My calcium level was too high, and they were trying to figure out why my calcium level was high, and it's kind of still is, but it's not as bad. So I was trying to deal with that. I'm like, wait a minute, they're talking cancer? And I'm like, great. So the Hope's family's out here. Jan Hope had passed 3 years ago, and me still, even though I went through with what I went through, I was still being respectful, whatever, trying to help her family. Her family, come to find out, you know, the daughter, their youngest, had experienced sexual abuse from her father. The same man that would beat me all the time. And she ended up basically losing, she ended up being the caretaker for her mother, Jan Hope, and it drove her crazy. She was in and out of a mental. And that's one thing I haven't been. I've been on some depressants, and then they diagnosed me with PTSD because of everything that I've been through. But I ain't been. And that's what my ex was trying to get them to do, and send my kids to back here and have that lady, Jan Hope, raise them, and let my kids, plus his kids, go through. And that was the thing. I was like, over my dead body. And of course, the comment came, you can definitely make that arrange. So I was smiting, I was scared. So after that, I was like, help them to get their family together, trying to help find Monica and get their family together. That was my way of being respectful to them after what I endured at the hands of them. So, came here. They're in Houston. Mr. Hope is in Houston. And they're both from Mobile, Alabama. And I have not been back there in ages. I didn't even go to the funeral with Monica when her psychic mom had her cremated. I was in Cali at the time, and I couldn't take off. Then of course, I got called a bitch, and I'm Hollywood. I can't even come, but I helped. I helped in the ways that I could. So there was more verbal abuse. I was like, okay, whatever. By that time, I'm 48, 49. I'm 51 now. Stuff's still going on. So after that, I get here. I'm dealing with it, trying to figure out what's going on. My sisters, they're like, anything, my sisters, they were like encouraging, very encouraging and supportive of my thought process of coming here after everything I had endured. So then during that illness, I was like, I couldn't work because of the pain I was constantly in. So I had to, my supervisor at the time with CVS, she was very understanding, and she held out, let me pull out all my PTO and everything so I had something. But I still had a car note for my Escalade that I was paying, that I worked hard for, and during the pandemic, finances went, and I ended up losing my Escalade and ended up buying a secondhand car this year. So I'm trying to get myself, my finances and everything back together during all this stuff that was going on here, 2019. So I bring up 2019, if I was like, what the hell this got to do with this? Remember I said what my ex-husband did as far as the welfare? Well, that was on my record. And they had sponged that, and so that, I did my community service, 4 days, well, really, yep, take that back. 7 days in jail, going to court, doing this, doing that. I get here, dealing with that. I wasn't working. My older kids were taking care of us when we first got back here, paying the rent, whatever, car note, what have you. I'm trying to get some type of work because my older kids were taking care of us. And so, kind of find out, I applied for a job back with United Health, different department, and didn't know it was a managerial department. So, come to find out, when everything, I'm like, oh, I'm going back to United Health, and I'm going back. This is my break. I finally got a break. And by myself, no kitten, it's just me and my 2 teenage boys and my oldest son's here with me. My daughter's back in Cali at that time. This is 2019. This is November, no, this is December 2019, before the pandemic. And background check. And I was like, oh, no problem. Okay. Because of the position, it was a managerial position. It was more of an in-depth background check. Optimarks for the pharmacy. And sure enough, it followed me to 2019. 2002 to 2019. I didn't get the job because of background check. I went into a deep depression. I'm the holidays, decorate a tree, nothing. The older kids were buying the teenage brothers Christmas presents. That day, I dropped my son off at work, and I was driving. I broke down crying. When he got out the car, I was crying. I had to go pick up my glasses. I wear glasses and contacts. And I'm driving. You know how the roads have a little bridge and there's a ravine, but it's still, it's a street. It's not like a really bridge, but they have a bridge thing. I'm crying. I'm crying. I'm like, Lord, I can't take no more. This man still has a hold on me. This stuff is still on me. and I'm driving. And I'm like, I can't take no more. I can't take it no more. It just sent me back to everything and anything that I had went through and endured with this man, prior to this man, after this man, and you still 2002 to 2019, 16 years, you still have whatever years, you still have a hold on me. This still has a hold and effect on me. So I'm just driving, and here comes the first bridge. I'm just driving. Lord, I can't do this. There's 2 lanes, 2 up, 2 down. I'm driving. Next thing you know, I'm coming up on the bridge, the little railing. I'm coming up on it, and I'm going like right smack into it. That car moved to the left, and I was like, what? And I'm driving. There's another one. I'm on my way to pick up my glasses to the main street. So I get back on the right side. I'm driving. I can't take it no more. And sure enough, same thing happened. And I closed my eyes and I heard this, I'm like honking. And that's when I snapped out. I'm in the left lane. So I had to get back in the right lane. No, I stayed in the left lane because the 2 lanes were turning. One was going straight, and then you go straight, you could turn. So I turned. And I'm like, Lord, I can't take this. So by this time I'm driving, I'm like in a daze. I can see my kids looking down in the grave. Like they're looking down at the grave. I see my kids. I even see my pit bull. I see my dogs. I see my sisters. And I'm driving. You ain't in Texas, all you see is out here in this area, damn 18-wheelers. So I'm on the left lane. It's 3 lanes. One is gonna turn and go on the freeway in the 35. One's gonna keep on. 35 is up there, up here in front of me. So I'm just driving. 18-wheeler. I can't do this. I can't do this. In the left lane, I start turning the wheel to go right smack until the 18-wheeler car moves all the way over to the far right. And by this time, I'm like, Lord Jesus. So I went to the doctor's office, which is only a block or 2 under the 35 right there. I go in, they already knew that I had got the job that I've been talking about. I know I got this job. I had to pick up my glasses. I had my shades on. I was crying. I was sniffling. I was shaking. And they were like, you okay? Yes, I'm sick. I'm sick. They gave me my glasses. I knew if they had asked me what's wrong, I would have broke down. So I got my glasses. I get back on. I come home. Dogs would bark because they wanted to go outside, whatever. I come up, not this house, but was around the corner. I come up here, I drop on the floor, and I just prayed. I started crying like a baby. I was like, I can't do this no more. Lord, what do you want to have me to do? That was December 2019. 2020 hit. I woke up, New Year. I was like, Lord, this is my year. Bigger and better things. I'm like, I got heavy in my scripting, got heavy in my prayers, I got heavy in my journaling, I got heavy in my meditation. So I ended up finding a job, supposed to be an assistant management job for Circle K, because I was putting out applications and stuff, trying to get back in the medical field, CVS. Position was filled as CVS, United Health. I was like, oh, I don't know. It was still a trigger. So after that, I was like, I got emails talking about if you're still interested in this position, this and that and the other, CVS. And I was like, yes, temp agencies for CVS and CVS talent recruitment. This was in January. But I had just taken the job. I was working Bath and Body Works and Circle K until everything came through or whatever paperwork I needed to do, what have you, for CVS. And they said, next you know, February hit, 2020, COVID, the pandemic. So I was like, at least I had a job. It was a huge pay cut, but I was like, I was getting paid every week. I was paying, doing what I had to do. So then after that, I was like, okay, COVID, they started shutting stuff down, blah, blah, blah. The email was saying, we want to wait and see what this pandemic is. We'll contact you in May. We will contact you in May or June. And I was like, between May and June of 2020. I turned 50 in April. So still hadn't heard anything. So this whole time I had my man, Sasha Butter. Like I said, I've been praying in scripture. When you pray, you have to be specific. All the times I was, relationships I was in, marriage I was in, the whole 9 yards. Lord, just give me a man. I just want to have a man that can get me from this drama, pain that I was enduring. It took me out of that and put me into another drama, pain, abuse. So I was specific, head to toe, of what type of man I wanted. And the good Lord gave me Lamar Pendleton, Sergeant Major. And I was like, yes. He was 2 hours from me. He's in Fort Hood. I'm here in San Antonio. So we did we still doing a little long distance, but this is way better. And so I was like, okay, I got my man. I'm gonna get this job, I still have my Cadillac at the time. They didn't take it until November of 2020. And so I was like, okay, everything was good. Even though taking my Cadillac, I was like, it wasn't meant to be. I worked hard, put all that money in it, but it wasn't meant to be. I need to humble myself and sit myself down. I'm gonna get me another vehicle, get me another SUV. Not a Cadillac, but I'm gonna get me another one, another SUV. And so I got the call, and it was a temp agency. I worked that with CVS, and I just got converted over this year in June to full-time. I know there was a lot. I know this video is long and lengthy, but I wanted to share it and let y'all know, after everything I've said and told y'all about the abuse that I have endured all my life. And then to find out in my late 30s that the hopes, that name that I carry, or my name and my kids carry, is not my biological name. I'm not theirs. They're not my parents. But I endured that pain and suffering, and they almost killed me 4 times. I'm a Calderon. I am Fortunata. A name don't dignify me, doesn't design me. A man don't. I make me. I was broken. I got strong. I got broken. Lord stayed with me through that whole time to get me to this very place. I don't know. Only God knows. Okay? For me to share my testimony and my story. We need to be more considerate, not baby that person, but be more considerate of what we say and what we do. If you are in a situation like this, or you can relate and you got out, you're blessed. You're among the lucky ones. You're in this situation, I hope if someone sees this and tells you to watch it, you are special. You are beautiful. You are a strong individual. That word, I'm strong, you're a strong woman, you're strong this. When you in that mess, you're in that abuse, it's hard for you to see it, and you get sick and tired of hearing it until you start seeing your own strength of you coming out of it. And there's going to be some triggers that will set you back, but you know where you've been and where you at and where you're going to be. So when I came on here to YouTube, I've been watching YouTube. That was my outlet. Shopping, window shopping, carts filled up, trying to figure out whether I'm gonna get it or not, and watching YouTube. That's what really drew me to YouTube, was the makeup, the hair, what have you. And when I decided to become a YouTuber, a content creator, there was some women that I had met in the small beauty community. And I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna finish up my lips, and then I'm gonna be done. In the small beauty community, everybody is like, is this the color I want to do? And it was like, and this is it. We got to know each other. We don't know each other from Adam and Eve. Some may have met up or whatever, but we don't know each other. We do not know each other at all. I'm using Fenty, y'all. I think I pulled the wrong one, but it looks good though. So we come together. A lot of women say that, you know, they support everybody. And some of them do, some of them say they do. It's a facade. I said it, yes I did. I said it, and I meant it. They say it, but they don't. It's all about, you know, who's in with the end. If you're doing luxury and this and that and the other, no, if you're doing drugstore, beauty store, what have you, you get called out for it. I know, because it happened to me. Bullying because of a brand that I rock with. But I'm like, it's not your brand or whatever, so why are you upset? It's not your money. I didn't use your money to buy it. I say this to say, abuse is, if you don't know a certain person's history or whatever, whether you do or you don't, you have to be careful of your words, because they could be turned in, it could be a trigger for somebody who has been through abuse, being bullied, humiliated, disrespected, you know, called out her name, just totally just torn down. You don't know that. So I'm like, we need to be a little bit more mindful, because you don't know that person's situation. I almost didn't continue doing my YouTube channel after I had started it, due to the fact, there was Bobbi Brown, due to the fact that I need a red in here or something, because this is looking too pink. So I almost didn't continue on with my YouTube channel, because I was humiliated, embarrassed, disrespected, degraded off of a brand, off of a joke, off of someone gave on somebody else's live, and I piggybacked on it. They got to talking with their minions and trolls or whoever. You know, the minions, the little minion things that be in the yard or whatever, because of that. And this woman, black woman, decides to discredit me and disrespect me on her live. And it took me back to when I was bullied and disrespected in high school and college. And it took me back to when I was being disrespected, degraded as a child, of the hands of a black woman and a black man and their family. So, I messed this lip up. So I say to fellow YouTuber contenders, be careful what you say. Shouldn't be doing it anyway. But it didn't stop me. I'm still here, and I'm going to be here, because I'm strong. I'm a survivor. I am somebody. And to all the women that has been abused of any sort, my heart goes out to you. Nobody can tell your story or anything but you. I've told mine. And these beauty communities small beauty community, hashtag Makeup Queens, you need to be a little bit more mindful of what you're doing and what you're saying and what type of message you are throwing out there. Some people might say maybe it was a misinterpretation. It's not a misinterpretation when you get a DM from people who had saw it on their live and they contacting you to find out what had happened. Looky Lou's trying to get some little dirty dirt on me or whatever, get some dirty dirt or get something to try to start something with me, because I ain't the one. I'll tell you right now, I am not the one. But that was my experience. This is my story, and only me can tell it. And I'm telling this story. It's my truth. I am a survivor. I've been through it. Been there, done that, I'm just gonna say. So, any woman or any man, men go to it too, but it's always the woman. Keep your head up. I could talk about it. I still get triggers from it. I'm still a work in progress, but I've done the biggest hurdles of it all to where I can. But this was like a little, I wasn't expecting this, not today. This was not supposed to be, I was been done with the video putting out like this, but I wanted to give you the gist of the real me, what makes Fortunada Calderon. I'm not gonna sweep it under the rug like I've done all my life, or they did all my life, or I participated, interacted with that. I'm not gonna sit here and let you bully me. I'm not gonna let you sit here and make me feel less than because of some contents that I choose to put out that doesn't meet your luxury. Bitch, I got luxury back here if I wanted to. I got luxury right here. I'm not gonna call nobody out. If they see this video or they hear about this video, so be it. Let the truth, the conviction of themselves get them. That's not my job. I'm gonna be who I am. You're not gonna bully me. You're not gonna scare tactics of me. I'm a small YouTuber. My numbers will get there when they get there. But you're not gonna sit up here and make me feel less than and degrade it and disrespect me. To me, in my mind, you might say, no, that's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy that they did it. But what is really crazy is that they're thinking that they're gonna run somebody off. That's bullying us. If that's what you're about, then you go right ahead. That's what you want to have your content and information about, you go right ahead. But you leave me alone. Someone might say, she's ranting on. I know where I am because that's a sense of abuse. And yes, I have endured a lot of abuse from one race. And some people are talking about how can you still associate yourself with that race, because not everybody of that race did it to me. Just some, not all. They have some learning to do, just like I have some learning to do. So I don't discriminate against that race. And if you don't know, that race was black. I don't discriminate against black women, not all black women. It's the ones who try to bring stuff, even the ones that bring harm to me. I just don't fool with you. I don't fool with you at all. And dang, for sure not gonna fool with you off of no brand. And you doing this, get some numbers. You're a bully. You're a bully. You're giving out verbal abuse, and you need to stop. So, this is the look that I've created. I do apologize for the lengthy time of this, but I wanted to bring awareness that domestic violence, no matter how physical what type of abuse it is. It's abuse, and it will wear you down. And what brought me and got me out of mine was the grace of God and being able to live and take care of my 5. Would have had 7. But I was able to, Lord bless me, to give birth to 5 kids. And I'm so thankful that he did. I don't know how I was gonna take my hair down, but I'll put my earrings on, but let's see, put these things on. But that's my stop. That's me. That's what makes up Fortunata. I'm not looking for no sympathy. I'm not looking for, I just want to bring awareness of it and that it's still real. It is real and it is still going on. Social media or not, family or not, elderly abuse, children, male or female, white, black, Asian, Latino. It doesn't matter. It's still going on. And some women have lost their lives, and I thank God that I'm not one, that he spared me and had highly favor for me to see 51. And in the Lord's will, I'll see 51 again. I'll see tomorrow again. All right, that's my look. I was gonna brush it, but thank you so much for listening. My jabber on my hair got sidetracked, but I wanted to bring awareness to this and give my story, my testimony, and hopefully that it may encourage and help someone to find their voice and talk about it and do what they feel like they need to do. Sunday, I'm Fortunata Hope. Stop. I am Fortunata Calderon. Thank you for coming to my channel. Thank you for being here. Some people say, why do you still carry the Hope name? Even though it's abuse, they did raise me. It's on all of my documents and everything. Birth certificate, there's discrepancy in the birth certificates. So I don't want to go through any more hurt and pain and try to figure this and pay the money. So I just just let it be. But I know who I am. I know whose I am. And I know whose I'm not. So, working on it. But yes. Hope that answered anybody's question that you may be thinking. But y'all have a wonderful day. Be blessed, be kind. Words do hurt. If you're in a situation, seek help. When I'm done with this, I'm gonna put the number for anyone who may need it for domestic violence. Please follow Pam Jordan and Lulu. They're putting out a beautiful collaboration. But you have a blessed day and a blessed week. I love you all and thank you. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm really wanting to hear y'all's comments about this. It will also, the pictures and some of them will be on my Instagram. But just know I got you. And I love you, and God's got you too. Be blessed, stay strong, be beautiful. Treat people like the way you would like to be treated.